What other things do we get with non-selective grazing? We get a better leaf-to-stem ratio. I already mentioned that the type of grazing will determine the type of regrowth. If we only trample and lay down the stems, there won't be as much leaf produced than if we graze it down. Because when you trample and don't break the stem, don't cut it from the root, from the crown, you will not prevent the auxin to be produced. And the stems don't carry out photosynthesis, it's the leaves. So we want more leaf, less stem. That creates a bigger solar panel, not the other way around. Okay? That's very important. We're going to have more tillering, as when we mow the lawn, we have more tillering, more new leaves. And the new seedlings can establish with a longer rest and less shade. If we always graze tall, and we have the plants this high, by the second year, the growing points will start to die out. The growing points are close to the ground, and when they are shaded out, they start to die. And when they die, we start to get a wider interplant spacing. That means more sunlight is getting into the soil, and less sunlight is being intercepted by living, growing leaf. So we alternate. I'm going to explain that. Non-selective grazing requires higher cattle densities, which depending on forage and offer can help aerate the soil and prepare a seedbed for new desirable seedlings. Why do I say this? The seeds vary in form and in shape. When we have desirable species like brome or like orchard grass, the seeds are rounded. So they require soil that is not crusted, soil that is loose. We create that with the hoof of the cattle. Seeds of non-desirable grasses have awns that dig into the crust. When the soil is hard, it will dig in and still germinate. This is easy to observe when you have electric fences and everything is trampled and the best species come up. But under the electric fence where it's not trampled and it's crusted, only the bad species come up. So that's very important also. Now this is in Chihuahua in the mountains, a very healthy grassland that has been selective rotational grazed. So they are taking down, it's a monoculture of Boteloa cortipendula, a very desirable grass there. But it's a monoculture because of the way it has been grazed. It has been grazed selectively rotational. So they come back 3 times a year, which they consider is good. But some years they don't get rain. Some years they get 1 rain, and other years they get 3 months of rain. But they always get 9 months of no rain. So by coming back, they graze this down, they don't touch this, then in 3 or 4 months they come back and they eat the regrowth of this and they avoid this again. So they are effectively utilizing only 1/3 of the ranch, and they are over-resting this, which is bad, as we've already mentioned. The shading, continuously shading the growing points will kill them, and continuously defoliating these plants will weaken the roots. So we'll have overgrazed plants here and undergrazed plants side by side, just like in continuous grazing, but it's slightly better. It's much better, but that's not what we want. Next one. This is the correct type of grazing to heal the land with cattle. The same state of Chihuahua, Mexico, same 14 inches of rainfall, but this was grazed down correctly by moving the cows on tighter bunches and moving them every 2 hours in this case with a protein supplement, because everything was dry and low in protein, so the rumen bacteria can still degrade. And we have healthy cows with production, good production, and we improve the soil. When I visited there, this is at the start of the rain, that was in July, we got 1/6 of an inch. So it started to green up. But you see all the litter left in between. So this is the plant spacings that I'm talking about. See how far it is from plant to plant? But now we have litter and a lot of new seedlings coming up. You don't see them there because it hadn't rained yet what it should be. But if we can put another plant here, another here, another here, and we can double the production. It's very easy. And if we had allowed these plants to be taller and only graze the best parts, it will shade the seedlings. So by taking it down, we create a litter, which is essential for water retention and the water cycle. By the way, the best way to improve the environment is by improving the water cycle, the nutrient cycle or mineral cycle, the energy flow, that's the capture of sunlight with more leaves, and the succession of species, to recruit new individuals to cover all the bare spaces and better species. And a fifth one that has been overlooked is the genetics, animal genetics. What type of genetics do we need to achieve this type of grazing without losing animal performance? That's where the African breeds come into play, because they've been selected over hundreds of years by nature and by aggravated human selection, where they were not allowed to graze, but only for 4 or 5 hours per day. Then they were brought to the corral. They were milked. They had to pull a wagon, and they had to plow the fields. Because why did they put them in the corral? Because of the predators, and because they needed the manure to fertilize their fields. So after hundreds of years of that, we have the Mashona cattle. That's one. We also have the Nguni. We have the Drakensberger. We got the Tuli. So all those breeds can help a lot. So we create a composite animal, we crossbred the best animals we have with those, and then we can create a herd of low maintenance females that will be able to heal the land with their management while giving us a very high profits. Next one. Leaves to stem ratio. Leaves carry out photosynthesis. Leaves have a much higher digestibility, energy content than stems. The form of grazing will determine the ratio of leaf to stem in the next grazing, and the stockpile, what we leave for winter, will also have a better ratio of leaves to stem with this type of grazing. Next one, please. This is how non-selective grazing looks like on Bahia grass in Florida. So when we take it down like this, we will have a lot of more new leaves. Does anyone, can everyone see this? How we'll have more leaves? Next one, please. And this is 21 days later. In that environment, 21 days is the threshold. After 21 days of regrowth, the quality is not there anymore. So if we wait 25, 28 days, the cattle will not have enough protein to digest it. So please go back. This was grazed, and then 21 days later. What does that mean on the whole ranch? Yes?
How do you know that? How do you know
very easy.
21 days? What
is very
easy.
Each species will be different, and each environment you have to adjust the principles, but the principles are universal. When protein is lacking, how will the manure of the cow look like? Huh? Huh? It will start to stock up. Constipation. In reality, it's constipation. And if you move it with a stick, you will see the pieces of fiber undigested. So that tells me that they are lacking protein. And they also start to eat less. When they're lacking protein, high in fiber, like those foragers, they start to eat less. So you see the field not as good, the field on the left flank, I'm going to show that, and the manure is not well digested. That means that they want more protein. So what do? If it's a rainy season and I have a lot of green grass, I don't feed them protein. I just move them on a shorter area of the ranch. Instead of half the ranch, I use a third of the ranch. Then I keep them on a high plane of nutrition because they come back faster. But I still graze non-selective, go back. I still graze this way. So they consume younger forage. Younger forage will be higher in protein. Yes? Here?
So
1 inch. Please go back. There. That's the mountains. If you don't have a high density of plants, yes. Yes. You graze it in the winter, down to the ground. What holds the soil in place? Roots. A perfect answer. So we want more roots, more density of plants. How do we get more density? Grazing it down. Please go forward now. See here, we grazed it down, we have created a lot of litter, but what we're aiming for is to have more plants in between the plants. We want it to look like, next one, we want it to look like this. If you have this, then no erosion will occur. But if you don't have it, you have to work towards it. It's not easy. I mean, it's easy, but it's not. Yeah, it takes time. Yes, I look at the manure every day or twice a day because I move the cows twice to 4 times a day. So you have to be constantly monitoring the manure, the gut feel, and the body condition. You have to become very good at that makes it easier to see it. Next one, please. Okay, the grazing principles are the same in different environments, but the application we have to adapt to the specific environment. Our goal is maximum utilization without letting our cattle lose body condition. That will be our mantra. Maximum efficient grazing without letting our cows lose body condition. What good will it be to have perfect utilization if our cattle become non-productive? We go broke. So anytime you have to decide between cattle and grass when you're grazing correctly, always favor the cattle, because the grass can be regenerated later, but that year's calf crop cannot be recuperated. That's very important. Don't forget that, please. Don't forget that. In a situation where we need to decide between the pasture and the cows, it is better to favor the cows, as the pasture can be improved later. Just think about it. It has been degraded for 100 years. So you can, and we can improve very fast. In the farm in North Florida, in 3.5 years, we started from -0, and we're carrying 4 times more than the stocking rate approved for the neighbors. So it's very fast that you can improve it. Next one, please. This is fescue. I was asked, how do you handle fescue? Well, from late fall to early spring, you can graze it without toxicity. After hard freeze, the carbohydrates are converted to sugars. So it becomes highly digestible and cattle get fat on it. And because it's only when it's hot that they suffer the symptoms of toxicity. When it's cold, they don't. Yes. It won't go away, but it won't affect the animal in cold weather. Once you get a hard freeze, it will actually become very high. We're too late now. From late July, stop mowing. Yeah. But the cows will take it down into winter, and we're going to talk about that. So this was in early spring. This is the fescue, so it was grazed non-selectively. This is as much as we could graze it down without losing volume. It was like this. It came through winter, and then it started to green up, and then we leveled it with cattle, moved them twice a day. Fescue is lower. The higher the fiber, the more frequently you have to move them in smaller paddocks. The lower the fiber, the less frequently you are required to move them. So this is a good grazing for this type of grass. Next one. This is the regrowth coming up. But now you see a lot of clovers are coming up. If we put cows back in, what will they eat? Now it's summer. The clovers or the fescue? The clovers. And then we end next fall with a pure fescue stand. But what we did is different. Next one. We allow it to rest for 100 days after that grazing, and this is what we got. A red clover. The first year. That was on its own. We didn't plant anything there. And then next one. Next year, second year, this summer, we got Dallas grass, a warm season perennial, establishing into the fescue. So that way, when you have a toxic plant, the solution is dilution. So we are diluting it with other species. Now it ceases to be a problem. Please go back. Fescue grazing in the summer in the USA. This is in Missouri and the Ozarks. In this environment, protein supplementation is not necessary, as the protein levels do not fall below 9 to 10%, even when it's under the snow. So that's why people from Missouri come and say, never feed protein, it's not needed. Yeah, it's not needed if you have stalled fescue. But if you go further south to Florida and you do that, you kill the cows. So we need to know those differences. Frequent moves. Why frequent moves? Because cattle, when they go into a paddock, they start walking around and selecting, and they start to dung and drag their hoof into dung, and then they contaminate the grass, and they smell it, and they don't want to eat it. So as time passes, more and more is fouled, and less is intake. So we want them frequent moves, smaller areas, so they consume it before they foul it. The stockpile is required for the non-growing season, which is our winter. And these areas need to be alternated every year. So the area that we stockpile will not be the same area that we're going to stockpile next year, because if we keep doing it, we're going to kill the growing points. And the area that is grazed short and frequently to keep the endophyte down in the summer will not be the same area next year. It has to be alternated. Then we get the best of both systems. The regrowth of fescue, now we have a better leaf to stem ratio in the regrowth. This is what was before. So it wasn't perfect. But I have a saying, 100% utilization will be perfection, and 80% will be excellent. So we aim for excellence. So from 80 to 100% is good. I don't push it so hard. Next one. And this was the result in that paddock. Next one. And year after, this is the result. Now we have go forward. We have the Dallas grass, which is high quality, and it's a summer growing perennial. Do you know the difference between a C4 and a C3 grass? No? A C3 grass will be a cool season grass, and a C4 grass will be a warm season grass. They are very different in their growth and in their nutrients. A C4 grass will be very efficient water to dry matter converter. It requires very little water to produce a lot of forage. A seed tree grass will require a lot of water to produce forage. But a seed tree grass will have a lot of energy and protein and low fiber, which is our orchard grass and fescue and clovers. But a C4 grass will have a lot of fiber and a low energy in the form of oils and low protein compared to the seed tree grasses. So the best thing to do is to have a mixture of them all, like the prairies had. Why is that so important? Because in the heat of the summer, a high fiber forage will create heat in the inside, in the rumen, and the heat from the outside, the cow will start to eat less. But in the winter, the bison survived the winters by eating C4 grasses that are high in fiber, and that created a lot of heat in the rumen so they could handle the cold from that. Yes. And I'm going to show some examples. He asked a mixture of those two types of grasses can be established through proper grazing. Yes. Imagine we have this, and then we come back, as we usually did, with selective rotational grazing, and the C4 grasses is trying to establish there. They're going to get nipped off and killed when they are just sprouting. If we don't give it a long enough recovery period by allowing an area to stockpile, they will never come back. They can become extinct. Next one, please. The cool season grass environment which we are in, and Ohio, Pennsylvania, Missouri is the same. These grasses are low in fiber, high in energy, high in protein at the right stage. They can create scours if they are not mature enough. Have you seen this in early spring, late fall? That's why. Because they don't have enough fiber, and they are too high in potassium and too high in protein in relation to energy. And they have nitrates also. So this can be a problem if you don't have C4 grasses. If you have C4 grasses, then the cow can balance her diet. Cows are very smart. They require added fiber when there are not enough C4 grasses in the mix, like oat straw, wheat straw, corn stubble. So then we don't get the scours. Scours are very important to prevent. When a cow is scouring, she can be losing 3 pounds per day. So if she scours for 20 days, 60 pounds we lose there. And $1 a pound, that's a lot. So we don't want that. And she's not healthy during that time. A non-selective grazing for efficient harvest and long recovery periods as quality doesn't decline as fast. Under these grasses, we can have longer recovery periods because the quality doesn't decline as fast. I showed you the picture of the Bahia grass in Florida. In 21 days, it's low quality. But on fescue, I don't know. What's your average rotation? Or how long before it starts to mature? 40 days, 60 days? I don't know. How long is your 50 days. See, so these grasses can take 50 days and still be good quality. When Bahia, 50 days will be straw, will be wood. Next one, please. This is correct non-selective grazing on high harvest efficiency in Ohio. This is Peter Kiko. He's grazing 55 cows on 31 acres, doing it this way. He has a cool season grasses, high quality, but he takes it down. This is his second year grazing, and he's the only one I've seen that does it properly. Look, yeah. Next one, please. But he's carrying 55 cows on 31 acres during the summer. In the winter, he has more. But he started with 150 acres, which was not enough for 55 cows, and now he needs to buy another 100 cows because he's doing it properly. And the cows are fat and they're happy. Winter grazing. What I was saying, high fiber generates heat in the rumen. So when it gets very cold, because up there it gets very cold, in Manitoba they get -40 with wind factor. So if they don't take care of this, the cows will lose body condition very fast in late winter, like February. The warm season perennials are higher in fiber and stockpiled better for winter grazing. Because they are higher in fiber, they stand through the snow. They are not flattened out. I don't see them around here. I just see them on the side of the road because they've been exterminated. So we have to allow them to come back. They're very important. As the stockpile forage weathers, its protein and energy goes down. If it's too long under the snow, for example, you have snow, then you have a warm day and it thaws, then you get snow again or ice, then it thaws again. The energy and protein of that forage will go down. So you have to be observant of the manure every day. Every day. We need to monitor manure, field, and body condition to know when to start supplementing protein. There may be a time here that you need to, maybe not. In Missouri, we haven't supplemented any protein in 2 years. I don't know here. You will have to judge that. Next one, please. Warm season perennials, a component on seed tree grass pasture. What I was saying, warm season perennials are much more water efficient than cool season, and they have deep roots, so can continue producing through a summer drought. When we get to July or August and we don't get rain, they will keep producing. So it's important to have them as a mixture. They contribute for a much higher dry matter production per acre, equal higher stocking rate. Total profitability is enhanced, and they require longer rest to establish and can be productive under this environment. No, on from 2/3 to 1/2 of the farm will be rested the whole growing period. That's when they can establish. Every other year we're going to do that, the whole. Yeah, I prefer like a 250 rest period for the first time. Does he hail from a cold environment or from Australia?
Australia.
Okay, we're in a colder environment, so we have to think in those terms. The principles are universal, but we have to adapt. So here, what I would do, they establish, let's say in late spring, they grow through the whole summer and fall, then they get frosted. Then we graze them down to the ground and don't come back till the next spring when it starts to grow. Then we come back, and we come back like every 50 days through the whole growing season, and then next winter they are not grazed at all, nothing. We go to the other area and graze it down, and that area will be left to grow for another full growing season. By alternating those, we get a very nice mixture and deeper roots, stronger roots. This is a C4 grass establishing on orchard grass in Ohio. He didn't plant anything. Just by managing, he's starting to get it to grow there. Okay, let's take a short break.